Hi everyone, this is Robin, and I thought I would show you my chatterbox cat, because you may hear him throughout the video. His name is Kylo. I didn't name him. He had that name at the shelter where I adopted him. But yes, I guess it's a reference to Star Wars. So this is baby Kylo, and he's very he's very whiny, like his namesake. Anyway, so I thought I would get on and talk today about why I decided to delete video 13 of the 31 Days of Terror challenge. So I tried probably 6 or 7 times at home to make that video, and every time it failed for some reason. Some kind of technical difficulty, or I completely lost my train of thought and I just messed it up, or Prince Charming over here got loud, and yeah, it just wasn't working out. So then I tried again at my workplace to make the video, and everything happened there, of course. Even whenever I was alone, everything just interfered with the video. So I ended up absolutely pushing myself through sheer angry grit to just make the video. And like even my jaw tensed up thinking about it just now. God. But by the end of filming, I was so frustrated, and you can tell in the take that I was so angry, and all of my energy is just like and frustrated and defensive, and it wasn't a very good video. So I decided to take it down, and I decided instead, because clearly that video just does not want to be made, so I'm not going to make it. I just gotta listen. Universe says no, not that one. And I thought I would talk instead about why I think I met so much resistance making that particular video. And I'm not even sure, maybe it's not even about that prompt specifically or that specific video. It was just that after the first couple of tries that didn't work out, and then I doubled down even more, and I was like, no, I'm gonna force my way through this. I'm going to do it, no matter how hard or how difficult the struggle. And I even feel one of my guys like coming to check in on me because my energy went weird. Don't do that again. But thank you, but I'm fine. I'm just talking about it. No, I decided to take down the video, even though I got an okay take. It really wasn't that good, because I realized that for most of my life, and especially over the past year, I have, in a lot of ways, forced myself to do things that I didn't want to do and that I didn't enjoy, and that were ultimately huge energy drains for me. And back in 2015, it wasn't my first major burnout, but 2015 was the first time that I admitted to myself and told myself that This is autistic burnout. This is this is because I am autistic, I am challenged in these ways, and I walk through the world in this way, and these specific things are more difficult for me. And because I pass as neurotypical and as autistic most of the time, except in those cases of burnout or meltdowns or shutdowns, um, because I pass in the world most of the time as autistic, I I would push myself past my limits, way past my limits, like not just past my energy store for the next day or my energy store for the next day, where it's like where you're borrowing against your own energy for the future and then you crash. I wasn't just borrowing a little bit, I was consistently, chronically drained. I was chronically fatigued because in my ability to hold a job to support myself, um, I I left my parents' house in a very dramatic and a very traumatic way, um, and I had to fend for myself in a lot of ways. Although I did have friends to help me at the time, and that was extremely, extremely fortunate, and I'm grateful. But in a lot of ways, I had to fend for myself. And in 2015, I realized with the compound buildup over the years of passing and not allowing myself to exist as an autistic person in a way that is natural and efficient for me with my energy and the way that my neurotype works, that I'd hit the lowest. I'd hit I'd hit the point where I didn't have any more second wins. You know, I didn't have anything else left in me. It was like I had been continuing to exist on sheer willpower, which is ironic because people kept thinking and telling me that I was lazy, but it's not it's not that I even think that the word lazy itself is a lie. Like it's not, it doesn't mean anything. People use lazy to mean that you're not worth anything, or I think it's an inherently ableist concept because I think it fails to it fails to understand the ways that people manage their energy and where their energy comes from and how they motivate themselves. And so, ironically, although I was being called lazy, it was like I realized, borrowing against my own energy for so long that I'd, I'd, I'd stopped realizing, I'd stopped knowing that I was doing it. I had just built up a sort of false or limited immunity. What am I saying? Anyway, it's like you can do that for a while, but it is not sustainable. And I did hit that like breakdown point, that 10 of Wands point where I just did not have anything else to give. And I bring up that time in 2015 when I realized that this was autistic burnout, where my the symptoms of being autistic started to show in me again. I started to appear again like I actually was, like I was autistic. It just, my ability to maintain a mask just ended. I could not pretend to be neurotypical any longer. And I'm bringing that up now because I feel like it's happening again. I feel like the ways that I've pushed myself over the past year or longer, the past year especially, the ways that I've pushed myself past my limit again and again and again and again have brought me to that point again where I I am constantly, chronically tired, and I am I'm having to stim like more and more and more and more visually and more vocally, and I'm like it's just so I'm realizing now that that habit of pushing myself far past my ability, my actual ability, and not my pretended ability, is hiding, has been hiding the fact that where I am in my life and in my career is not sustainable for me. And only now am I coming to the realization, because I'm hitting that burnout point. Because I'm hitting that burnout point and I'm being reminded consciously of all of the ways that I am autistic, where it's like sometimes with autistic people like myself who grew up not knowing that we were autistic, it's sort of like we were forced to build up those coping mechanisms so strongly that we became distanced from our own natural abilities. It's like someone got a Windows and installed a Mac iOS on it. And so it has to constantly use extra energy to run that Mac iOS on top of the Windows iOS. But you've only ever learned Mac iOS. And so then whenever this fails you and you're left with Windows iOS and you're like, this is like your natural autistic functioning, and you're like, God, what do I do with this? Oh God, I'm doing all these things. I'm having to do all of these things. What do I do? What do I do? How do I function in the world? And it's like, anyway. So that's how you can go so long not knowing that something is a problem. It's only whenever this fails and you're left with this and you have no idea, you know, jack shit about how to cope with your own natural self and your own natural instincts, and you have to reteach yourself how to care for yourself because maybe you never have been able to, or nobody's supported you to be able to do that. And I'm realizing that I have to cut the crap. I have to cut the crap and stop forcing myself through absolute sheer willpower to get through life because it is miserable. And with the making of that video, number 13, and seeing how it ended up, sorry, a guide is swooping in again to like assist. But I'm even stimming off camera. I've struggled with energy management for a long time for a lot of obvious reasons. And this moment of being forced to acknowledge that sheer responsible willpower is just not cutting it. I cannot run on empty. I have to be able to fill up my tank, you know? I have to be able to find and move toward what motivates me and what gives energy back to me. And that means I need to follow what makes me happy. And making these 3 videos have made me happy today. Petting my cat has made me happy too. So that's what I'm going to start doing. So thank you all for watching. I apologize for the pauses. And that's why video 13 disappeared. And that's why I'm going to start doing what I love. And looking at things that I encounter in life in a way of how can I make things more joyful and more natural to me. How can I honor my own autistic self? And how can I honor my soul and my spiritual self? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start honoring my inner child self some more too. Because, gosh, I talked about my other video. I talked about forgetting how to play. And I need to relearn. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, etc. Bye for now.